have SRAM created the most controlled, communicative, smoothest, smartest set of upgrades I've used for a gravel bike yet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have.
My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for nearly 25 years, and today I'm going to take you on a little adventure on SRAM's brand new Explore gravel group.
So, what is Explore? Well, primarily it's SRAM's new single ring 1044 tooth transmission. So fits in between 1036, which already exists, and Eagle, which is the mountain bike option, and it comes in SRAM Red, Force, and this entry-level Rival kit, and they're all AXS wireless based. But Explore is also the Reverb AXS seat post, a dropper and suspension seat post, and the new RockShox Rudy 30mm travel gravel specific suspension fork, and it's also the new Zip 101 wheels, but they haven't arrived for testing yet, so I'm just on these 303 Firecrest at the moment. But what I thought we'd do in terms of exploring what this new group brings to your gravel bike is set off on the road, where it just feels like a normal gravel bike, just a bit heavier. I mean, obviously the forks are very light for a suspension fork at 1270 grams cut to fit this Stigmata, but that's a lot more than the 470 gram carbon forks I pulled out of it. And also, while that SRAM Reverb AXS 27.2mm dropper in the 75mm stroke is a lot lighter than the standard Reverb AXS, so it's 570 rather than 650, it's still a lot heavier than the 230 degree Zip carbon post I took out. So, starting off on mid-sized gravel, I'd call this, and there's definitely, I mean, it's only 30mm stroke on this Rudy, but there's definitely a lot smoother ride than a rigid fork, as you'd expect. And it's fairly pressure sensitive, so you need to go steady with a good quality pump to get maximum smoothness out of it. But you do get rebound adjustment as well. So with 30 or 40mm stroke options, it's similar to the MRP gravel fork, and it's got the same travel as the Lauf linkage fork, alright? But obviously the Lauf is completely undamped glass fibre suspended linkage fork, which does have some advantages in terms of ride height. Oh, afternoon, thank you very much. But once this is sagged, it's barely any taller than a standard fork I took out of it. And all I did was drop a single spacer out the front end under the stem to get it all feeling the same height as the cockpit. And at 1000 grams, the Lauf is a little bit lighter as well. But look, I am impressed how smooth it feels, because actually this is the lightest, most open compression setting that RockShox do now on any of their forks. So while the pressure transfers at the top of the stroke, that means it's actually super plush and smooth. So even over little rooty washboard stuff like this, it's definitely adding control and comfort. And as long as you set it up right, you do get that full 30mm of travel out of those 30mm stanchions. And also you can run up to 180mm rotor, and it's e-bike compatible as well. To be honest, I headed out thinking that this was just going to be a bit of a gimmick and a bit rubbish, this, but sorry RockShox, should have had faith. This is a notoriously unpleasant, rocky exit off the boardwalk, but yeah, blimey. Yeah, okay. This Rudy is rapidly selling itself to me if you're determined to treat your gravel bike more like a mountain bike. So you can see actually some pretty decent chunky sized terrain we're coming up over now. Rocky, rooty, and the way it helps you sustain speed. Oh, sorry, I'll let you come through. No trouble. It really is very, very impressive. I'm actually taking the deliberately lumpy lines just to prove a point on this bike now. And then the other part of the RockShox package here, the Reverb dropper post, really helps. I mean, if you're from a gravel background, you might not be familiar with the idea of a dropper post. Just pops your saddle a bit lower, 75mm in this case, so you've got more room to move around. Whew. And basically not have the saddle up your bum when your back wheel slips like that, so you've got more ability to move your body English around. Holy cow, this carries speed so well now. And because it's AXS, that's actually just controlled with a double tap of the shifters. And there's another, a really smart aspect, which I'll show you next. So that dropper post, which I'll show you next. But the single tracking abilities of this so far, seriously impressive. Right, best just take me static shots of bike perfect. Nails up pretty here. So just going to take some quick details while it stood still. This is the Rival chain set, so it's full alloy but direct mount front ring. It's had that since the start, actually the latest Rival. This is a 42 tooth, but you've got options from 38 through to 46. And you can run it with the AXS power meter on the far side. It's compatible with that, though it is an upgrade. Plus it uses the wider axle and bottom bracket, so there's plenty of room in there for a big fat tyre. I mean, these are a 40mm zip I'm running on these 303s, boost axles at the rear as well. The key to the Explorer system is this 1044 cassette, so pretty much halfway between Eagle on the mountain bike and the existing 1036. Just not quite the same overall range as wide range, but depending what chainring you run, you can get it almost as low and definitely a lot higher. And I think this is a real sweet spot in terms of transmission. The AXS rear mech is slightly different. The B knuckle at the top is slightly longer for the bigger cassette, and the top jockey wheel is slightly offset. Otherwise, it's the same kind of steel and alloy structure as the previous Rival rear mech, and it's the same AXS wireless internals, the motor, the gearbox, the communicators, transmitters, whatever you want to call them, as SRAM, Force and Red. So you're getting all the tech for, I mean, it's the same levers as well. So apart from the fact you can't fit blip buttons, which are the little satellite buttons you can put on your bars if you want to, or anywhere else, you're getting all the same wireless tech with that excellent kind of communication, ride feedback, even servicing prompts are planned for this system as well, and just this beautiful, you know, cable-free cleanliness and ease of servicing, at least in terms of bolting stuff on and off, as SRAM Red and SRAM Force, but at a remarkably affordable price considering the level of tech involved. Plus, it's 250 grams lighter than SRAM wide range, and you don't have to shift between two chainrings on the front, so you don't have to have a front mech. And that wider cassette is less prone to clog up with grass and gunk and other stuff. It's one thing I've noticed running a 1036 in really filthy conditions. It does tend to get a load of debris, foreign matter in there, and that can make the chain skip. Oh, and on the chain, still that beautiful flat top chain. God, I love that thing. 116 links, or however many it is, a pure pleasure. And then this is your AXS Reverb 27.2 seat post. And it comes in 50mm or 75mm stroke, which is what I've got here, 350 or 400mm lengths. And you get a neat little tilt adjuster on the front there, and then single bolt on the side. And unlike the standard Reverb AXS post, it's got no hydraulic component at all. You've just got that air chamber in there, which you can change the pressure on and create that active ride suspension effect. But anyway, that's enough standing about talking. Let's get riding again. So, if you want a little bit of damping and comfort, you just give the post some of its stroke, and the spring rate just depends on how much pressure you put in the air spring. So as you can see, you can set it up nice and plush for plenty of movement there, and then when you want it totally out of the way, slam it all the way through the stroke for your drop-offs. I mean, it does take a bit of practice, and I haven't got there yet, but it certainly makes the rougher sections like this way more comfortable than they would be on a conventional rigid post. But it means you don't have to worry about bouncing around when you want it totally firm. It's just a really, really neat dual purpose feature. So, bottom line is, I am amazed by how much control 75mm, alright, of dropper and 30mm of proper suspension, because it is, you know, it's a proper little damper in the fork. Like I say, you get rebound control, you've got that compression lever if you want it for sprinting up the climbs, because otherwise, if you have it set up plush like I have now, it does bob noticeably. But over sections like this, rooty, chunky stuff, just the difference in the lines you can take, what you're happy hitting, and what you know, comfortable in both senses of the word. Whether it's, you know, in terms of how much your hands and your butt are getting beaten up, or your confidence to go the outside line there over those routes without the tyre getting spat offline or moved about. It's yeah. So I mean, I've been showing this fork to people, I'll be totally honest, RockShox SRAM, I've been sending pictures of this to people going, look what they've done now, how stupid is this? But I'm eating my words, not just on washboards but on proper chunky terrain. That 44 bottom gear is still really good for tackling properly steep and technical climbs. Well, they obviously add weight because you're not getting knocked offline as much. It helps you plough into technical climbs, which means that only the tyre grip is kind of letting me down, which brings you on to the whole question of, on these trails you'd undoubtedly be better off on a mountain bike. You know, this Stig with this kit on now is actually significantly heavier. I think it's 600 grams heavier than my chisel project build I put together. It has an alloy frame, 2.35 29er tyres, that's 61mm, and 100mm travel SID fork up front, which is only 70 grams heavier than this fork. But considering the restrictions RockShox are working in here in terms of how tall they can make the fork, how heavy is acceptable, you know, the fact it's got a 12mm axle rather than 15, and it's 50mm tyre compatible, then I'm amazed how controlled they've made this Rudy. Certainly felt like I've got a lot more margin for error down what I was pretty really rocky descent that, you know, I'd be wary of on the hardtail. And now I can properly ride with confidence on my gravel bike. So if you are finding your confidence limited on your gravel bike and you want some suspension, then they've done an amazing job with this Rudy. And I think the Reverb is absolute genius. The only thing I have found is that I keep accidentally triggering it. Maybe it's because I'm running the pressure pretty low, but it's quite hard to just have it with a little bit of sag to keep it mobile. Keep dropping it a bit too far, and also keep accidentally shifting and triggering the drop and dropping it out of the way. So I'm gonna have to learn to keep my fingers clear of the shift levers, or at least only put them on the one I need to use. But this is literally my first proper ride on this group, so cannot complain from that point of view. You know, it's going to take some adjusting. Gear range and the quality of shifting, it's just brilliant. I actually think Rival feels better than SRAM and Force, just because you get a different design of clutch on there. So here's this bright new, sorry, this is cheesy, it's this bright new future for more control for your gravel bike. Undoubtedly, yeah, it's definitely treading on the toes of mountain biking, but it's certainly well past that old gravel biking. Now is just mountain biking from the 90s, because the forks didn't feel this good, and this is definitely smarter way of moving your saddle about than a height right. I mean, they could make the lockout lever a bit higher profile, a bit easier to find, but they're obviously working with really tight constraints on some frames to stop it clouting the down tube. I know you can't fit the current Fox to a Sigmata, for example, because of that lockout lever in the crown. Obviously, it's been a pretty quick rundown. I just wanted to get a good first ride impression. So there's going to be some bits I'm sure you might want to know that I've missed out on. If there's anything obvious, I'll put it in captions, but otherwise, you know, make sure you ask any questions you want to know. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. There you go. And I even dropped saddle low enough, I don't think it hit the chesty cam. Proper drop off. Have SRAM created the most controlled, communicative, smoothest, smartest set of upgrades I've used for a gravel bike yet? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have. That Rudy is a proper suspension fork that won't screw up your gravel bike handling. The AXS dropper post with the suspension just adds so much control and comfort. God, I'm going to be able to even see in here. And unsurprisingly, the Explorer group, because, you know, it's just sweet spot gearing on an established SRAM AXS ecosystem, that is just brilliant. But again, you don't even know if you can see those roots in there, but trust me, there are plenty. And this bike, it might be heavier now, but it's a whole lot heavier hitting, comes with a lot more confidence as standard.
So there we go, that's my frantic first impressions on the brand new Explorer group set from SRAM, including the Rudy fork and the Reverb AXS 27.2 dropper post. There is Zip 101 wheels to come. That's a whole nother level of tech with ankle compliance taking out their MTB range. So hopefully there'll be a chunky box arriving and I'll get them onto the stick as well. But for now, thank you very much to SRAM for keeping up to date with their latest developments. Thanks to Zero Cycling for supporting the channel, sponsoring it, and thanks to Crud and Petey's as well. Thanks to my Patreon supporters who pledge on a monthly basis to help keep the channel growing. They get exclusive, extended and behind the scenes ad-free edits as a thank you. So if you like what I'm doing with the channel, please consider supporting me on there. But to keep up to date with as I get more riding in on this bike and this group set, plus a ton of other tests coming up. Got a load of mountain bikes that I rode at the Hard Rock Enduro at the weekend, 5 from there. I've got an e-gravel bike from Merida, and yeah, there's a ton of stuff I've got to process and edit. But please subscribe, please click for notifications, give it a thumbs up, tell your mates about the channel as well. But for now, I've been Guy Kesterman on Guy Kes TV, talking about SRAM's new XPLR gravel group set, Rudy fork and Reverb AXS dropper post.